Now we all love Marvel flicks, don't we? Superhero stylized movies are one of the most famous and flashiest kinds of entertainment known to man. But forget about Wolverine, Magneto, and Professor X. Today we're talking about real people with real abilities who don't belong in comic books or CGI movies. From the milk goddess to human computer, these are the real-life X-Men. Number 15. The Blind Adventurer. Climbing Mount Everest is pretty tough for anyone. But for someone without sight? Now, that's another level. Eric Weihenmayer, diagnosed with retinoschisis, lost his vision completely by age 13, but he didn't let that stop him. In 2001, Eric became the first blind person to reach Everest's summit. And he didn't stop there. He conquered the highest peaks on all 7 continents, defying what people thought was possible. He's also kayaked the entire Colorado River, over 270 miles of intense rapids and terrain. Eric doesn't rely on vision. He uses sounds, verbal cues, and touch to navigate the extremes. While many chase records for fame, Eric's story is about showing what human beings can still do when everything says they shouldn't. He's written books, given talks, and inspired people around the world. Some call him a daredevil, others a role model. But to anyone watching, he's proof that limits are only real if you let them be. Number 14. The Milk Goddess. Now let's talk about Elizabeth Anderson Sierra from Oregon. She holds a Guinness World Record, and it's probably not the one you'd guess. She's donated more breast milk than anyone else on the planet. We're talking about over 54,000 fluid ounces. How is that even possible? Well, it all began in 2014, when she was diagnosed with hyperlactation syndrome, a rare condition that causes her to produce around 225 ounces of milk per day, compared to the usual 30 to 32. While many would find that shameful, Elizabeth took charge. Instead of wasting it, she bottled and distributed her surplus to milk banks and newborns in need. Whether you call her a milk goddess or a walking dairy, her story is nothing short of remarkable. She turned a medical condition into an act of global goodwill. Along the way, she brought attention to a little-known disorder and helped thousands of babies thrive. Not all heroes wear capes. Some carry coolers. Number 13. Man with the Golden Arm. James Harrison was born in Australia, and of course he didn't have a golden arm, but what ran through it might have been more precious. His blood contained a rare antibody that helped prevent rhesus disease, a condition where Rh-negative mothers attack their unborn babies' blood cells. Doctors found his plasma could be used to develop the anti-D injection, which became a life-saving treatment. In fact, his blood helped save more than 2 million babies worldwide. James began donating in his teens and kept going every few weeks for decades, all the way until he turned 81. They called him the Man with the Golden Arm, not for any gimmick, but because he kept showing up, quietly doing his part to protect lives. You won't find him in comic books, but he saved more people than most superheroes. Sadly, Harrison passed away in 2025, but his legacy continues every single time a baby is born safely, thanks to that one humble Aussie. Number 12. Hellboy Arm. If Hellboy were real, Matthias Schlitter would be the closest match. This German arm wrestler was born with a condition called KTS, which caused his right arm to grow much larger than his left. The syndrome affects 1 in 100,000 and impacts blood vessels and bone development. Instead of letting it limit him, Matthias embraced it. By his teenage years, he stepped into professional arm wrestling and shocked his opponents with his disproportionately massive limb. Over time, he turned his so-called deformity into a winning advantage. His right arm isn't just bigger, it's stronger, with reinforced bones and dense muscle mass. Competitors often underestimate him until the match starts. Matthias's dedication to the sport and his unique build made him a legend in the arm wrestling world. He's been dubbed the real-life Hellboy, not just for his look, but for the way he flipped a rare medical condition into a full-blown competitive weapon. Number 11. Ultra Runners. The Tarahumara, also known as the Raramuri, hail from northern Mexico and are famous for something most people dread: running. But these aren't your average joggers. Members of this indigenous community can run up to 100 miles in a single day, barefoot or in simple sandals made of rubber. Their abilities didn't come from sports science, but survival. Living in the isolated copper canyons, they've used long-distance running for centuries as transportation, communication, and tradition. Their technique relies on light steps, efficient pacing, and a rhythm that minimizes fatigue. One of their traditional sports, Rarajapari, involves kicking a wooden ball across miles of rugged terrain. It's not just endurance, it's culture. Western runners study their form, diet, and lifestyle to learn how they achieve such stamina without injury. While athletic brands spend millions perfecting gear, the Tarahumara keep proving that skill, community, and movement passed through generations can outperform any shoe or watch. Number 10. Half-Hang-It Maggie. In 1724, Maggie Dickson stood at the gallows in Edinburgh, accused of concealing a pregnancy and the death of her newborn, a serious offense at the time. The crowd watched as she was hanged. Her body was left on display and later nailed into a coffin. But something eerie happened on the way to her burial. She started knocking. People were stunned. Maggie wasn't dead. She had survived the execution. Some said it was divine intervention. Others believed the noose was tied incorrectly. Either way, Scottish law at the time declared that once a person had been sentenced and executed, it couldn't be repeated, so Maggie was set free. Locals began calling her Half-Hang-It Maggie, and she lived for many more years, even remarrying. Her story still lives on in pubs, folk songs, and ghost tales around Scotland. She wasn't a myth. She was a real woman who cheated death and walked away from the rope. What do you think about her? Number 9. Super Eyesight. Veronika Seider from Germany stunned researchers with her eyesight. Unlike most people who have 20/20 vision, Veronika's sight was estimated to be over 20 times stronger. That means she could see things over a mile away in sharp detail, something that sounds more myth than fact. Her retinal receptors were unusually dense, allowing her to process visual data with extreme clarity. In 1972, she made headlines for holding the Guinness record for the smallest object ever seen with the naked eye. This wasn't a result of training or surgery. It was all natural. She wasn't trying to break records. It was just how her eyes were built. Her case fascinated ophthalmologists worldwide. While most of us squint at road signs or need glasses by 30, Veronika's vision remained razor sharp. Scientists still don't fully understand how her eyes function so precisely, but her legacy sits among the sharpest human senses ever recorded. Number 8. Musical Savant. Did you know a head injury can unlock talent? Well, not all the time, but that's what happened to Derek Amato from the US, who dove into the shallow end of a pool in 2006 and came out a changed man. He suffered a traumatic brain injury, but gained the ability to see music in patterns and play it like he'd trained his whole life. He was diagnosed with acquired savant syndrome, something incredibly rare. Derek had no musical background. Yet after the accident, he sat at a piano and played compositions he visualized in black and white imagery. Of course, the injury didn't come without consequences. Memory issues and chronic fatigue followed. Still, he found a way to turn the worst moment of his life into something beautiful. He's now a composer and performer, using his newfound talent to inspire others. Derek never asked for this ability, but he didn't waste it either. From a pool accident to piano stages, his story is one of a kind. Number 7. Miracle Babies. Babies don't stand much chance against an earthquake, but in Mexico City during the 1985 quake, the impossible happened. A hospital collapsed after the 8.0 magnitude disaster struck, burying a group of newborns under rubble. No one expected survivors. Days passed. No food, no water, no contact. But after nearly 7 days, rescue teams reached the nursery and found that most of the babies had made it. They were weak, but alive. The story shocked the world. It was more than survival. It was a biological mystery. How had these infants endured so long without nourishment or warmth? Scientists speculated that slowed metabolisms and the protective layout of the nursery may have helped, but no one could explain it fully. The press dubbed them the miracle babies, and the name stuck. Their survival became a symbol of hope during one of Mexico's darkest hours. I was no fiction or myths, actual miracle babies. Number 6. The woman with no fear. Most people would run at the sight of a snake or scream at a sudden loud noise. Not SM, a woman whose identity remains partially anonymous due to research protocols. Her brain lacks a fully functioning amygdala, the region responsible for processing fear. In 2010, scientists confirmed that she was biologically incapable of feeling fear, even in life-threatening situations. Her condition is linked to Urbach-Vida disease, a rare genetic disorder that hardens parts of the brain tissue. Despite exposure to haunted houses, spiders, and aggressive confrontations, SM showed zero signs of panic. Researchers found this not only fascinating, but incredibly useful in understanding how fear works neurologically. While she can still feel joy, sadness, or anger, fear simply doesn't register. Her unique brain chemistry turned her into a case study for neuroscientists around the world. She's not a superhero. She's a living window into what life is like when one of our most primal emotions simply doesn't exist. But is fear a really bad thing? Number 5. Short sleepers. How much rest do you actually need? For some people, sleep is optional, thanks to a rare mutation of the ADRB1 gene. This genetic change lets certain individuals function perfectly on just 4 to 6 hours of sleep. No grogginess, no side effects, just pure efficiency. The gene affects a brain protein known as the beta-1 adrenergic receptor, which plays a role in stress regulation and sleep cycles. With this mutation, the brain simply resets quickly. These people don't suffer from insomnia, they just don't need the usual recharge. Nicknamed the short sleep gene, ADRB1 is incredibly rare, showing up in about 4 in every 100,000 people. Scientists are still trying to understand how this works and whether it can be used to treat fatigue disorders. But for those who have it, it's a real-life superpower. While most of us hit snooze, they're already living their second day, all before breakfast. How great it is, isn't it? Number 4. Master Sniffer. George Aldrich isn't your average technician. At NASA, he's been the agency's go-to nose since the 1970s. That's because he can detect odors with near-superhuman precision. Officially, he's known as a chemical specialist. Unofficially, he's earned nicknames like Nostradamus and even Master Sniffer. His job? Smell every single item before it gets launched into space. From adhesives to fabric, if it offends George's nose, it doesn't fly. Astronauts rely on him to avoid harmful or distracting odors in zero gravity, where air circulation is a real concern. He started as a volunteer and became a cornerstone of astronaut safety. His extraordinary sense of smell even earned him a spot on Stan Lee's Superhumans, where his ability was put to the test, and passed with flying colors. George isn't just a walking nose. He's saved missions, protected crews, and sniffed his way into aerospace history. Not bad for a guy who turned a nose into a career. Number 3. Lucky mutation. Cholesterol isn't always the enemy. There's a group of people in northern Italy, specifically around the town of Limone sul Garda, who seem immune to the stuff. Thanks to a rare genetic mutation, their bodies flush cholesterol instead of storing it. It's not science fiction. It's real. This mutation affects a particular protein responsible for managing blood cholesterol levels. Normally, that protein raises the risk of clogged arteries, but in these locals, it does the opposite, acting like a built-in detox system. Scientists first caught wind of it back in the 1970s. Since then, they've been trying to unlock its secrets. If they succeed, they might revolutionize treatments for heart disease. For now, though, these Italian outliers are living proof that not all mutations are bad news. They can enjoy pasta, cheese, and rich foods with minimal consequences. In the world of genetics, there's one of the luckiest draws, and possibly one of the most valuable. Number 2. The human computer. Who needs machines when you have Shakuntala Devi? Born in Bangalore, she rose to fame as a child thanks to her unmatched ability to perform complex calculations, all in her head. They called her the human computer, and the nickname stuck for a reason. In 1980, she shocked the world by solving two randomly generated 13-digit numbers, multiplying them together in her mind at Imperial College London, completing the feat in just 28 seconds. That wasn't a parlor trick. It was a Guinness World Record. While she sadly passed in 2013, Shakuntala's brilliance still leaves people stunned. It wasn't just about numbers. It was how she carried them. Her mind worked with precision and speed that rivaled any machine. She also wrote books on math and astrology, showing her talents reached far beyond mental math. Today, she remains a symbol of pure intellect. No wires, no screens, just sheer, unfiltered human genius. Number 1. Snake Man. Who better to handle venom than a man who made it his life's work? Bill Hast, originally from New Jersey, relocated to Miami and opened the famous Serpentarium in the late 1940s. There, he milked thousands of snakes to collect their venom, not for show, but for science, because venom is vital in creating anti-venom used in hospitals across the world. Bill was no stranger to danger. He'd been bitten nearly 200 times, but managed to survive by slowly immunizing himself, injecting small amounts over time. His method wasn't exactly doctor-approved, but it worked. Hast became a living experiment and a legend in the world of herpetology. He even helped supply venom for medical treatments and research. The man risked everything for a cause most wouldn't even touch. When he died at 100 years old, he left behind more than just a name. He left behind decades of scientific contribution and a fearless reputation. If you have enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you very soon.